Hey, this is Dawnna St. and this is Awaken Nation with Brad Zales.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Zales, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things. Welcome to Awakened Nation.
Hey, everybody. I have a friend on today, and I got to tell you, she is, wait for it, legendary. Yeah, and she's making faces right now. Dawnna St. How you doing?
What's up?
What's up? What's up? Yeah. This is going to be a fun show because you and I laugh a lot, and we've been on the phone and chatted, talked, and, we admire each other's careers. So I'm just sort of like, you have an extraordinary story, and I really want to talk about this today. Our listeners are just going to love you, and you already have fans that I know are already fans of my work, so this is just going to be the Mutual Admiration Society today, but it's going to be fun. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready. I was waiting for you. Come on.
Thank you. All right, here we go. What if you were told by your guidance counselor that you'd either wind up being a drug addict, you'd have 5 children, unable to care for them, government assistance, jail time, an early grave? Sounds like my guidance counselor. But Donna's guidance counselor told her these stats and how they would define her life. And she kind of believed them and became depressed, homeless, and lost everything. Wasn't until she decided to step into a brave new chapter that things began to change. Over the years, she discovered that there were 4 principles of achievement, which extremely successful people consistently strive for to reach bigger goals. And we're going to talk about those today. These 4 principles gave her the ability to pull herself from the depths of depression, crawl out of homelessness, and build a $250 million tech business. Please welcome Dawnna St.
What's up?
What's
Hey,
up?
sweetie, how you doing?
How you doing? So let's dig into this. I mean, let's go back in time. I mean, was this in high school? This counselor?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I had a guidance counselor like that, and I'm not going to name names, but he said, I'm an idiot. I would amount to nothing. I was just going to be an artist. So what did your guidance counselor say? Let's paint this picture.
He was very clear. He pulled out the stats and said, let me show you what your future looks like. So it was a year after high school, and he asked his best and brightest to come back. He wanted to see how they were doing, mainly because they had put so much effort into their best and brightest. I lived in an inner city high school that it was more likely for you to be pregnant, drop out, and go to jail than it was for you to actually go to college or even apply. And so he gave me my stats because a year after high school, I had done what we would like to call find myself. I found myself hanging out on my mom's couch playing video games. And so he thought that was not a good use of all the efforts, of all the investment he made. He was not getting a return. So he said, well, let me show you the stats. You're smart. Let me show you the stats. And those were the stats he showed me. I was going to have 5 children, 8 baby daddies, weird math. I was going to be on government assistance. I was going to be on drugs. I'd be in and out of jail. My kids would follow me in and out of jail, the ones that lived, because at least 2 or 3 of them would be dead. But yeah, it was going to be generational. So I was not only going to be bad for myself, I was going to pass that along.
So did this scare the hell out of you, or did it motivate you?
Well, he actually used it as a motivational tool because I'm very stubborn. And if you tell me I can't do something, I know it's so hard to believe, right? Like I'm total wallflower.
Dawnna St. is not stubborn.
Oh, never got into an argument online about anything ever. So it really, really pissed me off. And I was just like going to prove to him that I could. He gave me 3 options, by the way. He did tell me that I could go talk to a military recruiter. I could take a bottle of codeine tablets and just end it all, so I wouldn't have to pay for, so his tax dollars wouldn't have to pay for me. or I could take
Wow.
$50, put it in my piece of crap car, and drive north and get out of Florida. I chose the third.
Wow. So where did you drive to?
Well, my goal is to go see the Statue of Liberty because I know everybody always talks about, freedom and all this other stuff, but she's the only chick that I know that stands outside in the middle of winter in flip flops and does not complain. So clearly she got some secrets.
Oh,
So I was going to head to New York and my car broke down at south of the border.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ended up living in my car because my mom wouldn't send the chopper to come pick me up. So I ended up
Yeah.
living in my car for 4 months.
We are a certain generation that the parents did not help. My dad expected
I
me out of
like,
the house at 21.
right?
You're going to be
Right?
out. Yeah.
They didn't give me that first million for me to get things started. They
What
didn't
the
send
hell
the
is wrong
chopper to
with them?
come get me
They were
up.
just holding back, right?
It was ridiculous. So I ended up being homeless for a few months and
Wow.
having to figure it out.
In New York City?
No, I was south of the border, which is just south of the North and South Carolina border. So right there, south of North Carolina, there's a place called South of the Border.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you do to survive?
Um, well, you learn, number one, I was smart enough to pack a whole bunch of canned goods and a can opener. That's right. So that's right.
You're
Mom
not
ain't
just a
raised
pretty
no fool.
face.
That's right. I actually ended up pulling my cart over. So I don't know. So way back then, it was super not safe to pull your car over into the rest stops. People were getting raped and killed and all kind of stuff there.
Yeah.
I think Bundy used to regularly hunt there too.
Oh my
And
God.
so, yeah, I don't know if you remember, that was one of his
Ted
hunting
Bundy.
grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of his hunting grounds, was in a rest stop. So I pulled my car over into the woods, into a deep wooded area, just kind of traversed its way through everything that was there and ended up by a lake, and my car broke down there.
Wow.
And so I was well hidden. And I ate my canned goods. I got really depressed. I contemplated suicide often. Did all the things that you're supposed to do when you're alone in the woods for 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I finally figured out how to get out of the woods.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I was a Boy Scout, and I've been close to homeless. I mean, I remember my first job in New York City. I didn't eat for 3 days because I didn't have any money. And that Friday I got paid, man. It was like, I ran to McDonald's and I ordered like 5 different things on the menu, 5 combination meals, and ate it all. Like I hadn't eaten it. Well, I hadn't eaten in days. I had water, and that was about it, or soda. And I think, Dawnna, this kind of it drives people. I mean, if you ever read anything about a successful person, they've all gone through something like this. They've been without. They wound up homeless. They were struggling, or they went through hell before they got, let's say, angry enough, frustrated
Right.
enough, pissed off enough to say, you know what?
Right.
I'm never going to let this happen to me ever again. And you and I both know that what baked beans taste like cold right out of the can. And by the way, I know how to heat up baked beans in a can without a pot.
That's right.
You gotta have gloves, and don't forget to take the label off.
That's right. That's right. Unless you're going to use that for the fire. That's right.
So
you know what I call that, though? I call that your default path, right? Because there's a second default path. Your default path is basically what you were born into. And you could, it takes 3 generations to build wealth. It takes 1 generation to lose it. And that default path is kind of like a gravity pull. It's always there. It's always waiting for you. If you do nothing, you will end up right back on it. So once you get off of it, your job is to constantly stay away from it, because it's not giving up its job. It's always pulling. It's always pulling for you.
Oh God, yeah. My grandfather owned a bar and a restaurant, and I love him to death. He inspired me, gave me my work ethic, probably. My dad too, but he's my stepfather. But my grandfather is my template, and it pisses me off sometimes because I will have money, then lose money, have money, then lose money. That's his cycle, and I keep trying to break out of that. But instead of breaking out of it, build on something. It's like a glider.
You gotta figure out how to leverage it.
Yeah, you have to know how to leverage it. And so for those of you who are listening, this is something you're going to struggle with your entire life because it is in your template. It's in your program template. So you're always going to be, Oprah talked about this. She, even though she had millions of dollars, she stuffed her mattress out of fear, just in case someday she's going to lose it all, because that's going on in the back of our heads. All of us have some of that. If you grew up either poor or lower middle class. My worst story is my stepfather was always pretending we were rich and we didn't have a pot to piss in. If it wasn't for my grandmother, my dad, I got 100 stories. I use them on stage at corporate events and people howl because it's the stupidity of my father. But let's get back to you. You're sitting there homeless. How did you contact your mom? Because this was sort of maybe, I'm guessing before the age of cell phones, really?
Yeah, this was before cell phones. And so I ended up eventually, she knew I was leaving. She knew I was going to be gone for a while. I ended up eventually calling her, with the handy dandy payphone. I remember I had to leave a message. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I had to leave a message because she didn't answer it. So I had to leave it on her answering machine. And it really said, I just want you to know I'm not dead. I'm okay. I'm in the woods. I never forget that part because she said she didn't know what that meant. I'm in the woods and I'll call you as soon as I can get to another phone. And she thought, because I said I was in the woods, that I must have joined some type of commune.
And knowing you,
I would have started a cult more so than been a part of one.
Yeah, she really didn't get you. She didn't really understand. You're a leader. You've always been a leader.
Yeah, I was like, I would have started a cult, Mama. I wouldn't have been in one. They're gonna take all my stuff. No.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you talk about that template because, when my guidance counselor said that I would use drugs, that was like one of his big things. Like and he said, I never forget him telling me, you have what is known as an addictive personality, and it's probably a part of who you are as a person.
Wow.
Do you know that because he told me that, and because of something that had happened earlier on in my life, I've never had a drink. I've never taken drugs in my entire life. Like the most I've done is I've had a cigarette. I have a cigarette once a year at this annual association that I go to.
Look at her. She's a party animal. That your reputation.
A whole cigar. and it's the baby cigar that tastes like blueberries or something.
Right. You and I would get along just fine because I like a good cigar once in a while. But I do like a good glass of wine. There's some Hungarian wine that I enjoy.
I have a fully stocked wet bar. I just don't drink anything in it.
You don't use it.
Drunk.
That's funny.
I get everybody else drunk. I'm like, if you're gonna come over, I gotta libate you.
There you go. Your mom. I'm thinking the entire time I'm seeing this picture of your mother in church praying for you to be protected, because my mom was the same way. My mom has prayed so much for me to be protected by the good Lord above that I have nothing to worry about for the rest of my life. I mean, that was her thing because I was her only child, so she just was. You're protected.
Oh, that's right. We are both only children.
That's why we act the way we do.
Yeah, I'm an only child too, and yeah, it would have been my grandmother. My mom is very spiritual, so she would have more likely been like burning incense and doing something by Buddha.
Or I saw you in a dream. You were in my dream last night. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, my Hungarian grandmother was into all that stuff. Like she had all the remedies from the Carpathian Mountains in Hungary because she came over in 1921 to the United States. So yeah, you remember in the Remember in the werewolf movie when the gypsy woman goes, "Don't go into the swamp"? That's Maria Uspenskaya. That was kind of like my grandmother, except she was a little bit heavier. You must stay away from the werewolves, that kind of stuff. You'd be serious, trust me. So let's get back to this. I'm really fascinated by your stories simply because, if you don't know who Dawnna St. Louis is, ladies and gentlemen, please look her up. It's with 2 N's, Dawn, and
first of all, Donna is spelled with 2 N's, so that probably didn't help. It's right. DAWNNA.
Can't find you on the list to get into the club. Yeah. But here's what's amazing about Donna. First of all, she has a great sense of humor. She and I get along really well. But first noticed you, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw some speech you gave, and I said, this woman is a powerhouse. This woman knows how to work the stage. She knows how to tell a story. And I can tell she's not a BS artist. And we'll talk about this in a bit because there's so many in the speaking industry that are full of it. And you carry yourself you live your story. This is the best part. And I want to continue this because this is fascinating. So you're homeless, living in your car, living in a van down by the river. You're eating beans out of a can. What was the turnaround for you?
There was a gentleman named Officer Smiley who was the biggest, most racist redneck that I ever met in my life.
We know
and oh my gosh, don't we? And he didn't take a liking to me as much as his wife did. Now, she had met me at this point, but I knew that she was the one sending me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day with the crust cut off every day. By the way, never once did she ask if I was gluten-free or had a peanut allergy, which is so rude.
Well, that just didn't exist back then either. That was like a rumor, it's like that and UFO abductions were in the same category.
Right, all in the same category. So she sent those every day, and every day he would ask me a question that I was almost sure it came from his wife, and he wouldn't tell my car. And then one day he showed up with a typewriter and a ream of paper. And he never called me by my name, by the way. He always called me idiot or stupid or dumb bee, but he always had new names for me. I don't even think he knew my name.
Wow.
And in fact, I don't think he knew my name because he told me it didn't matter anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, he was not nice to me. But he was nice to me, but he was not nice to me. And he came one day and he said, "Hey, stupid, I need you to do a resume." And I'm like, I've never done a resume before in my life. And he goes, "My wife said that you wouldn't have done one, so here's a resume book. Here's some paper, and here's a typewriter. Let me tell you, it is not a typewriter that you plug in. It is not a typewriter with backspace."
I had one in college.
It is not a typewriter with correction tape. So I want you to imagine that you cannot type, and you must create a perfect resume.
And you can't make a mistake, and you didn't know how a typewriter worked either, did you?
Oh, my God. That was horrible.
You went through a half a ream of paper.
275 pages before I got this thing perfect.
Oh, my Lord.
It took me forever. But anyway, I ended up getting a job as a customer service rep for this company called People's Telephone. And while I was there, I learned something so very important about myself.
And that is?
I hated customer service.
What did you hate about it?
I hated that it was the same questions over and over again. What the company used to put these cell phones in cars, and people would rent the car with a cell phone, and they'd call in every week to get their bill. So I started noticing a trend that these were obviously business travelers who were doing the Monday through Thursday business route, and on Friday, of course, they're home. And so I went and got this book, and I figured out through this book that there was a way, and I knew nothing about computers. Like, this was the first computer I had and everything. I figured out that there had to be a way for me to take all of their information and put it into an Excel spreadsheet, which I didn't even know that's what it was, but I put it in this Excel spreadsheet and figure out when they were going to call next and beat them to the punch and automate faxing their bill to them so they would never call me again. And I ended up writing code, which I didn't know that's what it was at the time, to make this happen. And I went from getting instead of 100 calls, maybe 25 calls. And I had an extremely high Tri-Peaks score and solitaire score because I spent the rest of the time playing video games.
Wow. I applaud you for this. Now, during this time, you get your first job, and do you get an apartment and you start,
No, the president of the company actually got me a place across the street, which was a pay by the week motel.
Right.
So I was at a pay by the week motel, literally across the street. So it was really hard to be late for work, and I didn't have to spend money on lunch.
Wow.
And so I was there, and eventually when he realized that I wasn't, that they still had customers, but I wasn't getting calls, his name was FJ. He wanted to know how I did it, and I showed him, and he goes, "You know IT?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to spell IT." He was like, "Well, you're going to that department," and he immediately moved me to that department, and
Wow.
that's how I got into IT. I started building computers, putting networks in buildings, just anything that had to do with technology and writing code. I became certified in about 5 programming languages.
Are you kidding me?
No, you didn't know that about me. I'm a certified geek.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Dawnna St. Louis, nerd, geek, and we found out in the green room, Star Trek and Star Wars fan. So
That's right. Yeah. So
I'm like staring at you. Go ahead. Which languages?
Let's see: Java, C, C++. I'm sorry, C Sharp, C++. Visual Basic at the time, Visual Basic, which is dead now, Python, and then and now I've gotten really interested in a lot of the AI stuff. So the AI languages are interesting to me. And then I'm a certified Six Sigma black belt, not like a black belt like you, but a Six Sigma one. We use our head, not our hands.
That Jack Welch training. Yep, I know it.
There you go. And I'm a certified project management professional.
Wow, I'm even more impressed with you now. It's like
I'm an actual geek. Yeah.
You are. Wow.
I don't tell anyone, so this is huge.
Yeah, because that's
not even on my resume.
Because only around certain people do they sit there and they go, "What a woman." Around other people, they're going, "She's a brain. I don't want to hang out with a brain." You know, I mean,
you're like, she does math.
She does math. She could fix my car. I don't like that. Yeah. Me, I'm the opposite. I'm like looking at you going, "Oh man, this is so awesome.
We could do calculus together."
What's your favorite episode of Star Trek? I mean, that's literally like you and I.
The one with the little Weeble things, little spongy Weeble things. I love that.
Yeah, you like those. The Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, Tribbles, yeah.
Quadritriticale was the name of the grain.
Oh, you are a nerd.
Yeah, I'm a total nerd. I'm Captain Kirk, trust me. So let's get back to this. I mean, you and I could get sidetracked for 4 hours and then come back to the subject. This is the funniest part about you. So I'm blown away. So let's tell the next part of the story, because you're living there in this small town south of the border. You're making money. You're finally getting that first job, which would make your high school guidance counselor very proud of you. And there's an old saying, it isn't the first person who gets the worm that's successful. It's the lazy person who gets the worm, because you're trying to find an easier way to do your job. Because
you're building a better mousetrap.
Right. Who the hell wants to field 100 phone calls every Thursday and Friday?
God.
That's a lot of phone calls. And by the way, that can drain the hell out of you. So you've figured out a system on your own, just using technology, which says 2 things. First of all, you're genius level at figuring out how things interact. Second, and I feel this is the success of any great entrepreneur, you're just naive enough to not know what you didn't know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Best question ever. And my geeky friends out there will totally get this. I was asked by the president of my division, I understand that you created this program. And I go, okay. And he goes, and I understand that it's working right now out there, that it's being used live. I'm like, yes. And he goes, what test environment did you do this in? And I was like, test environment?
Yeah.
Right.
What beta tester did you do?
What is this test thing you speak of?
What's a beta
test? Why would I test it? Yeah. Right. That. Yeah. So that's that danger of, no, just go for it. I mean, really, do we need a parachute for this? Oh, there you go.
You know, I always say this to people, and it's like, look, if you could predict your future, everybody who went to college would be a multimillionaire. We would just fall right in. Success is so easy. You just follow this path. It's not. It's the accidents. Mm-hmm. But knowing what to do with those accidents is the best part of it. That's what I call a happy accident, because it's sort of like you're sitting there frustrated, you know how to use a typewriter, and then you graduate to Excel spreadsheets and not knowing it's an Excel spreadsheet, and then you're just sitting there going, you know what, I am
She
tired of
knows
these
programming.
right, I'm tired of these phone calls. Damn it, I'm gonna find a better way. It reminds me of that guy who that was caught in the news. He automated his job and never showed up for work for 6 years. And got paid.
That would be me.
Exactly. But the work's getting done. So
Work's getting done.
So tell me about, okay, did you go into creating a tech company right after that, or what's going on?
So, well, I worked in IT for a little bit, right? So I kind of got my IT chops two ways. Number one, I did a lot of, I became really proficient at learning something really complicated and converting it to what regular people could understand, right?
Nice.
So I did a lot of adult education in the government. I had gotten awards for doing just teaching people how to use computers. At the time, Google wasn't even out, right? So I'm teaching them how to search, teaching them how to use their computer. And then I kept getting certified in all these different languages and all this programming stuff, wrote some systems that they still use in the government today. I worked for the U.S. District Courts and U.S. Probation. And so I did that for a while before I decided to head out and be a consultant. I really wanted to go and be an IT consultant. The IT bubble was huge at the time.
Right.
And people were really, you learn so much about businesses and how businesses run and the challenges that they run into to really discover they're really running into the exact same challenges. You learn what they'll put money in.
Right.
And what they won't put money in. And then from there, I met my future business partner on one of those contracts, and he had it's going to be so cliche. He had a project he had to do for school, and I did his homework, all his homework, and I decided I did not like the way he wanted to do the project.
Right.
So we did it a different way, and we built a business instead.
Because, you're smart enough to know there's a difference between textbook and real life.
Right.
And I think, and I always say this to people who go to college, get all the right grades and everything, and then you get out. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. And there's two things that define an entrepreneur. And I think they get frustrated at the way things are being done. Mm-hmm. And they say, you know what, I'm doing it my way. And the second thing is they see holes in the market. They see holes in the marketplace, and they say, or they get angry enough to say, I'm going to plug that hole with my product or my whatever.
Exactly.
Wow, I didn't like the way that sounded.
Yeah, no, you're going to plug your product. Keep talking. I'm right here for it.
I know, this is funny. The stupid stuff I say sometimes. But this is how Reed Hastings got started. I mean, he took back his VHS tape for the right stuff back in the 90s, and they charged him $40 in late fees. And if you know the story back then, Blockbuster Video and all the top rental places, late fees were $1 billion industry.
That was their money.
Yeah, just the late fees. So they were always going before Congress, going, "What were you supposed to do about it?" And Reed said, "You know what? I'm gonna get you guys." And he just through the mail, grassroots efforts, started out in 1997. That's how Netflix got started. Frustration.
Right. I was a customer.
Frustration, anger, and just saying, you know what? I can't take it I'm mad as hell, and I can't take it anymore.
I can't take it anymore. But it's two things, right? You also have to have this internal drive. And so if you think about him, he was focused on one thing, something very specific. Right. And he was like, I'm tired of late fees. He had one goal, get rid of late fees. That was his one focus. That
happens sometimes. People get convoluted with too many offerings, too many things. And I think it was Seth Godin who talked about this. Companies that step back and reassess everything and just chop up and sell off and get rid of what's not profitable and focus on that one thing. And, it's like Patagonia did that. They went off to the mountains. They went to Patagonia and they sat there in the snow and they skied, and they didn't think about business until a couple of days in at night around a campfire and said, what do we want this company to really be about? And so, it's always emotional why people buy. And I just think that for any of you who are listening, who are entrepreneurs or business people, at the end of the day, we can really get trapped in the thought process. Like, we're going to get this perfect. We're going to get this right. And we miss those happy accidents like we talked about before. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the things that get the emotions going, and that's where your profits are. Because that's where, as a keynote speaker, nobody hires you if you tell a boring story. You're on stage
Right.
going, Bueller, Bueller. What's the point?
Right.
What's the point? So, the gift, you have the gift of gab, you have the gift of being able to weave a story, but to connect the dots as to the sales or ROI on that story, that's the magic. That's the key,
Right.
translating it. So what I love about you is you've lived through this entrepreneurship and built a multi-million-dollar company. And I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, 95%, if you add them all up, 95% of the professors who teach business, the business gurus out there, the people that are at the very top of teaching leadership and business have never owned a business.
Right.
And there's that tiny 5% of us who have built businesses, but have also broken through the $1 million barrier into multi-million dollar territory. Who do you think is going to bring better value to your company, to your board of advisors? People like us, especially Dawnna, because you and I have one thing in common. I mean, besides 5 things, we have one thing in common. We say what's on our mind.
This is so true. So true. Really, seriously. I had one company, by the way, big credit card company, who said, they're like, so what we're going to need is we're going to need your scripts.
No.
And we're also going to need to pre-approve your jokes. And I was like, first, I've never written a joke. Second, I've never written a script. Third, you're hiring me because I'm an expert, which means I can expertly make have a conversation and answer questions and make a response, like actually formulate a whole response to said questions in a professional manner. If you need a script, you don't need me.
Exactly.
What the hell?
Well, it's these heroic conversations. I was called in at a place to do 4 workshops on, I opened the day with generational stuff, and then it got closed with a woman who talked about diversity and women in the workplace. And then on the second day, we did these, dramatic act outs of bad behavior. And it's sort of like you sit there and it's like, well, if we're going to have heroic conversations, like we're really going to dig into the mush now, we're going to have to go off script. And I say this to a lot of people because they call me up and they go, Brad, why are we having all this discord now in the companies? I said, guess what? There was always this hidden conversation that was kept tapped down or bottled up by a bevy of lawyers in every company. That was, women getting harassed, not getting promoted, women of color from all over the world not getting where they're supposed to do or where they're supposed to go, LGBTQ. All these conversations were already happening within your company. You just didn't bother to look at it. And your lawyers kept that conversation bottled up. Well, now the genie's out of the bottle and you have to deal with it. And you have to deal with it in a better way than, hey, we're going to have 5 white guys, middle-class white guys, middle-aged white guys sitting up on a panel talking about what black women want in a company. This is the kind of disconnect we're getting.
Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. Wow, I didn't even know I wanted that.
Yeah, it's hysterical. Sorry to...
No, what they have to do is they have to stop being that. They just have to be like Ben and Jerry.
Yeah, just be Ben.
Get out there.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing I always did at K2 is I always made sure if you were the best at your job, you were the best at your job. I didn't care where you're from or what your background was. I mean, we had one guy, he was Jamaican American, and we made people go through this intense interview process. So you had to go through, the first interview was with the team you were going to work with. Then you had to sit with the department heads. So by the time you got to us, the owners of the company, the executive committee, these people were kind of really like, okay, maybe I might be a good fit. So we hired this guy right on the spot. He was so excited. And then everybody left my office and he and I are sitting there alone. And he leans in and he goes, I don't know how to build a website. I said, dude, nobody does. Because remember, this was 95, 96.
Right.
I said, dude, ask a lot of questions. You got your team in there. We have programmers from MIT and we got designers from Pratt. Just learn. I said, I trust you. We all trust you. You can do this. And now he's one of the top web designers in the country.
Well, there you go.
And it's just like if you want the diversity in your life, you have to put it in front of you. I mean, I've been in New York City for too long to not want it and see it. You know, it's just the spice of life.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you. So, you know, I'm from South Florida. South
Right.
Florida is a melting pot of all the things. Like,
Right.
all the
Oh, yeah.
things
I know.
are there, all of them, right?
Haitian
It's like New York,
Americans. Yeah.
Haitian American, Jamaican,
Latinos.
Black. Yeah, and then you have all your flavors of Latinos, because don't get it twisted.
Oh, I know.
You call an Argentinian a Puerto Rican or a Puerto Rican and Cuban, and there's going to be an argument, right?
Dare you? How dare you do
do
that to me? Coño. Yeah, I know.
There you go. Yeah, I've been called Puda a couple of times, and then then you got your Asians. And, I mean, it's literally a melting pot.
Right.
And then I went to upstate New York.
Mm.
And I just want to help everybody. We're not talking about Manhattan. I know when people here in New York, they think Manhattan. They think of 5 boroughs. No, I went to where they pick apples. I went to upstate New York. I am the darkest person here. I'm just saying.
I know what you mean. I've been there.
I was like, there's no, and you miss the flavor. It's like, okay. It is like thinking that the only seasoning you have in your cupboard is flour.
Well, people don't know what they don't know. I mean, my dad was Hungarian, and my friends would always come over to our house for a 4th meal because we put paprika in everything. And so when my ex-wife and I, when we got together, when we first started dating, I ordered the hot sauce and the waiter brought it to her. And I said, no, that's for me.
No.
And she's a black woman from Haiti. She likes spice, but I'm the one using the hot sauce. She's just looking at me like, really? You like hot sauce? I said, yeah, I grew up with this. And so, yeah, when you travel outside of New York, sometimes you're like, what just happened? You know,
what happened?
It really should. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because I was just like, and then to go, by the way, flour is not a seasoning. So, come on.
Well, that's what we use in our soups up here. That's Southern accent for up.
Yeah, that's a little southern, but you're right there.
Yeah. And it there's something that most people don't know about you. You wear flannel and you go hiking in the mountains. So you kind of,
I do. So I got a story for you. I got a quick story for you. So I'm in upstate New York, and my friend says, "Hey, Dawnna, it's summer, right? Let's go on the lazy river." I'm from Florida. Lazy River is giant outdoor pool that goes in a circle, and you get on a tube and you go on the lazy river, and it takes you around, and you wave, and the little person takes your drink order, and when you come back around, they give it to you, and you keep floating. You don't actually get out of the pool.
Right.
And so I am like, oh my gosh, they got a lazy river up in this piece. This is going to be awesome. Upstate New York lazy river. Right. And so we go, and then he says, we should get a cooler and put food in it. And I'm like, why can't we just wave our hand for the person to bring us food? Why can't we just go to the concession stand?
You're speaking two different languages.
And so then he's like, and we need pool shoes. And I'm like, how ratty is the bottom of this pool that we're going to get in? Right. So I'm like, this is going to be not good. I think he's going to take me like Hicktown pool. Like, this is going to be horrible. I'm going to need Vagisil when I get home. Everything's going to be questionable.
Right.
So we get there. We get on this bus, which a school bus from like 1928. So we get on the school bus with no shocks. We're going over all these bumpy roads. We're going into this wooded area. And I'm like, where is this resort that we're going to with this giant, this must be the most epic lazy river ever.
Yeah.
Then we get there and they throw our tubes off the top of the bus and we have to carry them. And then we're going like down this path through the woods And we get to this river.
Wow.
And I'm going, what's happening? He's like, we're going to get in the water. I'm like, first of all, I'm from Florida. We do not get into bodies of water that are outside because we have these things called gators.
Yeah.
Gators will eat you. And he's like, we're in upstate New York. We're near Lake Placid. There are no gators. I said, I saw the movie Lake Placid. There was a giant gator. He goes, that was Lake Placid, Florida. You geography idiot. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's what happens when you take a girl from South Florida and you tell her you're gonna go outside in the water. I'm like, I'm not going outside in the water. It was awesome.
That's funny.
Now I do it all the time.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I do a lot of things out here in Vegas that I wasn't able to do in New York as much because I lived in the city in the 5 boroughs, so I get to hike a little bit more. I
love that stuff. I love hiking.
Yeah, me too.
I have a hiking stick. That's right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Were you and I separated at birth or something? This is hysterical.
Listen, it's a big deal. When I tell my friends I have a hiking stick from Miami, they look at me, they're like, oh, to beat off the iguanas and lizards and snakes when you're in the woods.
Funny. So let's get back to, you built this company, this tech company.
Yeah.
And how did you wind up selling it?
Oh, so we had a choice. Very simple choice for me, maybe not so much with my partner. So there is something called disruption fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So things, and I know people talk about disruption all the time, and they rarely talk about disruption fatigue. And so when you're an executive, you're running a company, you do look for that point where there's going to be a little bit of smooth sailing, even though don't want to stay on it for too long, but you are looking for that. I can go on vacation. So we had gotten to the point where we're finally to the point where like, okay, things are going pretty well. Maybe it's been 13 years. Maybe we can go on a whole 2-week vacation and the whole company doesn't collapse. And, yeah, right. And so I decided to,
I know what that is.
Some data. Yeah. I decided to look up some data for something else. And I noticed this trend, and that trend said, hey, the housing market's about to crash. It was right before 2008. And I was like, no, we're going to go on vacation. And so we had a choice. We could either ramp up our government contracts and ride through it. We could ramp up our government contracts, slow down on our private contracts so we could ride through it, or we could sell. And I was like, I'm tired. So we decided to sell.
I admire what you did because you can sometimes be so burnt out, you don't know what the right decision is to get out of this.
Yeah.
You know,
oh
so you sold, and now you're sitting there on some cash. And what made you transition into being a keynote speaker, being this amazing
I was
powerhouse?
asked to do it.
Really?
It was, I was, so here's something you don't know about me. And I know you've seen all the videos, so you know almost everything. Even the private ones. I know. I wanted to do something. I had to give back, right? It's always been a thing about mine, is that if you have something, it's worth nothing until you give it to someone else. And so I knew I was good at speaking and delivery. And so I wanted to join Toastmasters because I thought it would be helpful for other people, that I could go in there, I could really coach folks. And I won, within 3 months of being there, an international humorous speech competition.
Wow.
Which was funny because all I ever did was like PowerPoint and business. And I was like, how am I winning this? Right. So it was actually kind of funny. And the district that I was in was number 1 in regards to size in the world. And number 2 was the country of India.
Oh, they take this serious in India. They really do.
Oh my God. And we had professional comedians that were it was a huge district in South Florida. Anyway, so I ended up winning that. And there was a gentleman that was sitting there named Craig Valentine. And he said, you need to do this, period, the end. And then I reached out to some old contacts, and they were interested in me coming in and talking about entrepreneurship within their organizations. That's
That's
how I got started.
incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, it does. It kind of happens accidentally. I remember when I used to do stand-up comedy. I was 8 years. I was a professional comedian. I used to
Oh,
I
I
used to
didn't.
open for Lisa Lampanelli. For about,
Really?
yeah, that was a rough gig because and I was new, so you better get good quickly. And her audiences weren't coming to be nice. They were. I got
No.
heckled like you wouldn't believe. But you take your skill set and you bring it to the stage. Now you connect the dots as a storyteller
Right.
to how you can solve their problems. And that to me is the most exciting part, because some people say, well, you get paid a lot to do a 90-minute presentation. I have 3 months of research. Shut it.
Yeah.
3 months of research. I have, as you know, hundreds of stories that I can just pick and move like puzzle pieces. But a lot of times with certain corporate, some corporation might call me in and they have a problem over here. I have to do the research for a better story that fits them. That's what I find fun about this. What do you enjoy the most about the getting on that stage and doing the keynote?
Well, I think it's funny. What I love is it goes to answer the question that people say, which is you get paid a lot of money to stand on stage for 90 minutes and talk. And I go,
Oh yeah,
no, I don't. Get paid a lot of money to stand on stage for 90 minutes and change 2,000 people's minds.
I like that answer. That is good.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I only got 90 minutes to do it. I said, you can barely get 5 people to agree on lunch. I got to get 2,000 people to
Wow.
change their mind.
And
Right. And so that I love.
8% of every audience can't stand you, isn't going to change. They sit in the
Oh,
back like
yeah.
this. And I pride myself in trying to convert those people in the back of the room.
Those are the people, right? I know the lady right here up front that saw me in the bathroom that complimented me on my shoes. She's already on my side, so I'm good. Her and her friend
Right.
she gave me with, right? I know those guys over there already like me because they just follow me in, and so I know, right. So I already know the people who are already on my side. It's the people who are forced to be there because their boss told them they had to be,
Yeah.
or that they paid the money for the ticket and this whole thing is a waste of time, but they might as well sit here and get some work done.
Yeah. There's always
Those people.
the one person who can't stand you is the one who's most verbal in the feedback form. Oh, and then the people who love you to death, they just love you to death. There's nothing.
And they say nothing on the feedboard.
Yeah, isn't it funny?
But I do like the people who don't like me because I usually find them and I usually find a way to get them to come up front almost all the time.
Nice.
And then once I get them to come up front, I do I'm telling you, by the end of it, I ask them, I'm like, so you still hate me? And most they're like, no, you're awesome. I thought
there you go.
Something else. I'm like, you need to work on your prejudgments.
Yeah, there you go. How do we get a hold of Dawnna St. Louis? Where do we go?
You go to, ready? Got to write it down. It's really hard. DAWNNA.com.
Dawnna.
Like share.
.com. Help me, Dawnna. Help me, Dawnna.
Wait, do you want to know the 4 things?
Yes, I do. We're not ending yet. We still got a ways to go. But I wanted everybody, DAWNNA.com. So let's talk about we talked about this in your bio. What are the 4 things that you've learned that every successful person utilizes?
So number 1, we actually already talked about.
What is?
Focus.
What?
Focus. Yeah. Even when I teach sales, because I do a lot of sales teaching, I show salespeople how to focus on that one thing that they crush, that they do best. That one thing. Focus on that. Don't focus on everything else. I don't care that Bob can negotiate. I don't care that. What is it, the thing that you do best every single time? Focus on that. So that's number 1.
That's powerful. Does that require?
That's the easy one.
Does that require clarity of actually knowing what you're good at? Because a lot of people don't.
You're right. In fact, when I coach people, especially people who want to be entrepreneurs and speakers, one of the things that we do is we talk about, well, what do you want to talk about? And they tell me all the things they can talk about. They're like, oh my God, I can talk about leadership and customer service. And then I saw this commercial on anal leakage this weekend, and I researched that, and I think I could be an anal leakage speaker. And I'm like, or not. Right?
I think that's niching down too much.
Yeah. I think that's niching down a little too much. No, but actually what I do, and this is going to sound a little backwards, but this is what I do. I go in and I work with people, and I don't accept just what they tell me they want to talk about. I go in and I find the trauma.
Yeah, that's powerful.
There's something that traumatized you that you have leveraged in order to be very successful. What you need to do is show other people how to get past that trauma so they can be successful also. And it's not, so for me, it's entrepreneurship. I was traumatized because I was convinced that I was worthless and that I had nothing to contribute, and not having anything to contribute for me and my life literally meant death.
Wow.
Literally. And so that was trauma for me. How do I get past that trauma? I became an entrepreneur. So what do I teach other people how to do? To get to become an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, by leveraging what their trauma was.
Wow. That's interesting. That is really interesting and incredibly powerful, because when you speak from the core of the trauma, you know, nobody can, you don't have to read 500 books to know your trauma and know your pain and know how you solve
right.
it. And
yes.
Okay. So Dawnna, we were talking about focus and clarity being a point of this. What's number 2?
Yeah. So number 1 is focus. You have to be extremely focused on one thing and one thing only. And then from focus, you really want to jump into making sure that whatever it is, whatever that main goal is, that thing is bigger than yourself.
Bigger than yourself. That's number 2.
Yes.
So
let me give you an example.
Okay.
All right. So imagine for a second that you are in sales. And generally people in sales are concerned with their goal. That's the only goal that matters.
Exactly.
Because that's the only commission they're going to get. If you have a good team leader and you have a good organizational leader, what they've done from a sales perspective is they have taken that goal and they've created as well a team goal. Because you want that goal. Like if I hit my numbers, there's also a team bonus. So now we all get paid. By creating a team bonus or doing something that's bigger than yourself, it makes all the difference in the world. If you can look at your product as well and understand the underlying why, the underlying benefit, why the solution is so critical to the people you're selling to, you're still doing something bigger than yourself. It can't just be about your number, because that's not going to sustain you.
That's interesting that you talk about that, because I remember working in the pharmaceutical industry. I was backstage most of the time. A lot of these leaders in the sales department, the executive vice president teams, they would put out this regional goal. Okay. They would throw this out. They'd say, okay, whoever hits their top sales per region, those people get an all expense paid trip to Costa Rica. And guess what? I mean, you're going to work when you get to Costa Rica, but they let you have free time with your wife and all this other stuff. But you're going to be actually hobnobbing with the CEO 7 days in Costa Rica. Of course, you're going to learn a few things, but you'd be shocked how many people pushed like crazy to get their numbers up, because the goal was way past their personal goal of, I'm going to get $100,000 in commission this year. Now it's like, screw that. I want $300,000 in commission. I want to crush this. So I can see how that can be inspirational.
But
success.
Even more so than that, say for example, let's say for example, for the quarter, you have for yourself, you have a $500,000 goal. And let's say for that same quarter, your entire team has a $6 million goal, right? Well, if everyone on your team if everyone on the team together collectively gets the $6 million, then all of you are going to get this additional bonus. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people hit their 500,000 and be like, I'm coasting the rest of the quarter. But when they realize that their additional contributions impacts this additional money that not only will they get, but the rest of the team gets, they're more likely to work a little bit extra, because they're like, oh, okay, maybe I can sell another $50,000. It makes a difference in regards to how people go after a goal.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting when you watch how people can sometimes hit their numbers and then they go, I'm down, I'm done.
I'm out. I'm out. They're
But
totally out.
I think when type A players are involved, it's kind of interesting to watch because they compete with each other within the ranks of their own company sometimes. It's kind of exciting to
Right.
watch.
Right.
Yeah.
But this also tells you how to get hit those other players that aren't necessarily type A. So you have
Right.
these players that are really all about the good of the whole,
Right.
right? They
Wow.
have that Mr. Spock mentality. So people who are looking out for the good of the whole are saying, so I might have to sell an extra 50,000 over my goal for us collectively to get to the other piece of the pie that we weren't normally going to get. You know, they don't want to leave that money on the table, and they're also bringing up people behind them.
Yeah, it's true. That's exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So what's number 3?
So if number 1 is focus, number 2 is having this bigger goal, and then number 3 is you got to take action.
Right.
Like, no, seriously, like you can't be like, I'm going to make 300,000 and I'm going to help all my customers get this amazing solution.
Right. So it's sort of,
And then what? And then what?
it's like people who say the law of attraction doesn't work for them. You know, it's like, but I prayed, I meditated. Well, did you stand
Did
up
you
and
actually leave the house?
Yeah, did you actually do something about it? You know, did you get
buy
up?
the lottery ticket, or did you think really positively about it?
Exactly. It's like, okay, you got to take action, which means, okay. And this to me is probably one of the cornerstones for my success is like, I'll write crazy stuff down and then I'll say, okay, how do I achieve that? Okay, step 1, go down to the courthouse and register my LLC. How's that? You know, step 2,
right.
look for office space. Clients are coming. I already got clients. Boom, boom, boom. And so, and I think another side of this is taking action. What is missing from your knowledge base that you need to acquire is another part of this, because I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Exactly. So yeah, this next part, this really, really big part is take action, and not just any type of BS action. You have to take some real action. Like, you got to go for it.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy? Like, I can't sit on the couch, pop bonbons, eat chunky monkey, and scarf on salt and vinegar potato chips, of course, doused with a little bit of hot sauce, and go, I really wish I could get in shape.
That is funny.
It doesn't work like that.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
People,
yeah, that's not how any of that works. Just
it's like, why can't I lose weight? I still got a little love handles here. And it's like, well, you know that ice cream you're having every night around 10 o'clock before you go to bed?
Right.
Stop
that
it.
One.
Yeah.
The sugar-filled one. That one.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So what's number 4?
Okay. So we got focus.
Mm-hmm.
We got something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
We got, now I'm going to take action.
Right.
Ready? Don't stop.
Don't stop. Okay.
Don't stop. I don't need you to whip out Journey and start playing. I just need, don't stop. That's it.
I just got a check. I'm done. I'm going to take the week off.
Done.
Yeah.
I'm done. People stop. They do the one step and then they stop. And what happens is they have this lack of belief and they don't learn the lesson to keep going.
Yeah, this has annoyed me with some joint venture people I've worked with. Once they hit their goals, they're like, okay, we're done. It's like, okay, so what else can we do? I mean, we can keep doing this. And the key to entrepreneurship, the key to success is just keep hitting it. And you know, if you watch professional baseball pitcher, when they throw that ball, the real key to getting a 98-mile-an-hour curveball is the follow through. You know, the human arm is like a French trebuchet. If you don't follow through, and you see them, their hand flies past all the way down to their ankle. That's the follow through. And that's what I compare this to. It's like you got to keep going, keep doing it, keep repeating.
And it's kind of like with golf too, right? There's that whole don't move your head, you know, all the stuff that you have to do. And then when you get to the end of that swing, you can't just stop because you hit the ball. You have to take it all the way through. So with that don't stop, this is what really happens in that moment. you're going to look back and you're going to see that you hit that milestone, right? So you're like, okay, I focused on this. Let's use sales. I'm focused on hitting my number. Now I'm focused on also hitting this goal, quarterly goal that's good for the team. I've taken action on it, right? And then you're ready to get to the next quarter. So you're not going to just stop. You're going to look at this, and this is the important part of not stopping. What do I want you to do during this time where you don't stop? I want you to evaluate everything that you've done that's been successful. I want you to evaluate everything that you've done that maybe wasn't necessarily contributing to the goal. And then I want you to repeat it. So I don't want you to just do the same exact thing. I want you to evaluate, improve, repeat. And then you can add on.
Well, you said something that I always like, and I always like to repeat, and that is, don't worry that Larry's great at, one-to-one sales. Don't worry that Ben over there hustles. Get into what you are really good at. What is your talent? What makes your abilities better than anybody else? And you and I, we always talk about this, our winning personality. And so that's our strength, like in the book Strengths Finders. You kind of have to do that instead of sitting there going, well, I'm not good enough. I hit my numbers, but I could have done better if I was more like Bob over there. No.
Right. No. I don't want you to compare yourself to Bob. I had this one sales pro that I worked with all the time, and he was using, my sales method, right? The St. Louis sales method. And so one of the things that we talked about, because his was a lot of relationship phone call sales, and he would network regularly. You could see him doing almost nothing in the office most days. Like he was working the hell out of solitaire. But in the evening, he would go and network all over the place. He was a networking machine. That was his strength. He was the highest closing sales rep.
It's true. I had Jordan Harbinger on the show last year, and Jordan talked exactly about this because he was a millennial, 20-something, right out of law school, walked right into this, company. He was working at a law firm, and they had to work those 90 hours going through briefs, going through all this stuff. And he noticed there was this one guy who would just show up once a week and then disappear. And he's like, what's his secret? So
what is he doing?
Right. He went after him. And because somebody told him, he said, that guy that just left, he's the highest grossing salesperson in this place. He made partnership, early and all this. And so the guy was legendary. So Jordan was smart enough to just pull that guy aside and go, hey, what's your secret? He goes, the guy didn't really know what his secret was because he didn't understand that he was networking before anybody talked about it. Like, we're actively networking today, but back in the day, he just told Jordan, he goes, well, I take jujitsu and two of my clients are there, and we take jujitsu together. And then I go golfing with these other guys. And then I'm going to be on this yacht, on Saturday. Well, it's all client base. Every single thing he did that looked like fun, guess what, was getting in the client's face and just being a friend, just being an authentic person that they can go, hey, I need some help on this. So there was never like this gap between help us and having to make a phone call. They knew where he lived. They would always see him. So the discussion was there. And that was his strength. And that's when Jordan decided to do the same damn thing. And that's why he has one of the most successful podcasts on Apple right now, 6 million downloads a month.
Exactly. And here's the thing. That's amazing. Here's what people need to understand. If your strength is not networking, then please don't start stalking people at the golf course. Don't do that. You're just going to be creepy is what we like to call that.
Yeah, you've been to those meetings where everybody just hands out cards. Nobody actually engages like, well, what do you do? I'm a lawyer.
God.
Here's my card. And then you get home and a week later, you got a stack of 50 cards and you're like, you don't remember a single person.
You have no idea why you even have those cards. You're like, well, do I need anal leakage help? I didn't know this was a thing. Right? Like,
I didn't know I needed that.
I didn't know any. So it's the goal isn't to just duplicate what you see other people doing. That's not it. The goal is to evaluate what you do best and then do more of that, and then evaluate what you do that doesn't seem to be working at all. Do less of that, and then repeat and see what your improvements are.
well, how do you know who's good at this or good at that? I said, you don't need to analyze anybody. You can see the leaders. They rise above everybody else. People gravitate around them, and their sales teams or their development teams, they're always crushing it. And it's because they have a certain set of skills. Now, let's call it energy. Let's call it enthusiasm. Let's call it engagement with their teams. And those people, you can spot them a mile away. Now, someone else may not be able to do that, because if they try to do that, it would be fake.
It would be fake. It wouldn't be authentic to themselves. And that's what it really comes down to. When we're talking about Strengths Finder and strengths, we're talking about what's authentic to yourself. Yeah. And so what you really want to do is that's the whole point of, you find your focus, you make sure whatever your goal is, that it's bigger than yourself. You take this again, and you have to take action. And listen, just because you do step 1 doesn't mean you don't do step 2. You have to keep taking action, just consistent action. And then when you get to that third, don't stop. Evaluate. Because and the reason I say don't stop is because of this. Some people get to that goal and they'll say, well, I didn't reach the goal, so I should quit. No, don't stop. Evaluate what works. Evaluate what didn't work, and then go back and try again. I talk about this in marketing quite a bit. So when people are using the St. Louis marketing method, we go down a very specific path and we get a certain result. And then we start saying, what did it take for us to improve this result? Maybe we had ads that weren't working well, so we pull those. We had ads that were working great. We do more of those. You have to constantly test and repeat.
Yeah, and I mean that's where we're at in this day and age, because we have analytics and we have all this stuff. And guess what? We have something we never had before, and that's behavioral analytics. You can assess yourself, in a way that our parents and grandparents could never do. You and I talked about this the other night, and this was kind of fun to play around with this. But you found out I was creative from the Strengths Finder work, but you were more analytical. Like you have, you are analytical as all get out. And guess what? You didn't have to tell me that, but when you did, I went, yeah, I totally get it.
Well, actually, so I'm going to lay mine down because I know mine.
Lay it down, baby.
Communication.
Yeah.
Clearly. Speaker and writer. So kind of know that one. Right. Ideation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Strategy.
Yeah, totally can see that.
Woo. Win others over. Influencer. Did it work, Brad? Did I win you over yet?
It worked. It did.
And then the last one, which most people don't necessarily recognize unless they know me really, really well. Competition.
You thrive on competition. Yeah, I know.
I am competitive to a fault. Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad.
I'm competitive to a point.
Oh, no, it's a fault. Yeah.
But you're like, you would crush your enemies.
Oh, are you kidding me? I went to the NBA basketball. I went to the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is the Robert Naismith Hall of Fame. I went there, not kidding you. I'm wearing 6-inch blue heels. I'm therefore speaking whatever. And some guy said something to me about being able to shoot 3-pointers. And I'm like, I will shoot 3-pointers with these 6-inch heels right now on that floor with no problem. And he's like, double dog dare you. I'm like, where's the money? We've got to be betting. like, it's a problem. Like, so casinos won't have me.
Heading out onto the card is Dawnna St. Louis in the high heels.
I was like, I don't care how tall you are. Let's go.
You walk out, you're like, straight up.
I'm like tomboy competitive though. Well, because everybody is raised up with a guy.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know this about you, but you are competitive basketball since you were a kid, like 13, 14, right?
Yes, dirty player, baby. Pistons. What? Okay, sorry.
Dirty player.
Dirty player.
Thank you, by the way, for laying down those 4 strategies, principles.
And it's something that you can use in everything that you do, whether it's losing weight, whatever you want to do. It's those 4 things. If you have a bad week, let's say you're losing weight and you have a bad week, just for argument's sake, right? And you're probably going, what is my bigger goal about losing weight? I'm losing weight for my ass to fit in those jeans.
Yeah.
right? Then what you could do is you can actually use it as an example for other people of what's working and
Well,
what not work, what didn't work.
well, you want to be around for your kid's wedding. You know, you want to be able to
Right.
walk up a flight of stairs when you're 70. You don't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things.
But sometimes people need that immediate, so it's the immediate gratification of the goal that's bigger than yourself. So that's why it's okay, you can use this to share with other people so they can get
Yeah.
something out of it.
Focus, goal that's bigger than yourself, action, and keep going or follow through all the
Follow
time.
through, make sure
Those
you
are the
evaluate and repeat. Yes.
Those are the four. Thank you for sharing. And by the way, if people hire you, you get clear on their business, and then these are the action steps you push. That's what I think is great.
So there's two things is that people, so I'll just say my clients don't come to me just because they're like, Dawnna, help me make more money. That's great. Anybody could do that. I first got to figure out you and why you. What is your block? Because usually a mental and emotional block that's stopping you, we move that out of the way first.
Yeah, that's what I like about you because I've hired speaker coaches. I like people. I have separate coaches for everything. So performance coach, the marketing part of this, everything. But at the end of the day, if that person doesn't get you or get me,
right.
What am I selling? And that was part of. I put down a lot of money with somebody who. They came up with this great idea and they were so enthusiastic about it and they just didn't seem to realize I wasn't enthusiastic about it because it wasn't me. B, it sucked because I'm a marketer.
Right.
So when he brought it up, I'm like, what the hell is that? That was
well,
like the worst.
there's actually three parts to it if you really think about it, right? There's the strategic, right? We're trying to hit strategic goals.
Right.
There is the tactical, of course. But then there's this amazing third part that many people miss when they're on this side of the line.
Right.
It's the person sitting across from you and what they love and don't love and hate and want to do. It's all that stuff.
You mean the person sitting in the front row?
Like
you're going to change
their being. Yeah, that person, like their actual personal stuff. I'll give you an example on this one. I had this one client who literally was just so stuck when it came down to getting on the phone and making cold calls. They just are like, I can't do it. And we talked about 800 ways around for them and they couldn't. And I said, okay, we're not going to talk about cold calls. And I sat down and had a real conversation with them. And what they really had was a deep fear of rejection that came from their childhood. It had nothing to do with picking up the phone. It had to do with this thing that was way back past there. And I said, well, let's talk about that. Once we got that and they were totally aware of it, they were completely self-aware. They started getting on the phone and crushing it. But they had to get that self-awareness happening.
Yeah. I just want to tell everybody who's listening, they really should hire you because, and folks, I coach people.
Well, they should try because I'm going to take everybody. So
yeah, you should try and fit in. She doesn't take everybody. I'm a coach who goes into that muck, because I tell my clients right away, I go, it's not therapy, but it will be therapeutic. And here's the thing. It's because after half a dozen coaches that I've hired, you're the first one who goes, well, hey, Brad, what's your block? And I'm looking at, I know my blocks and I just lay them out. And I'm sure there's one more that you're going to dig in for me. And if you don't get to that, you're not going to be an extraordinary business person. You're not going to be an extraordinary speaker. You're not going to blow up on stage. I mean, how many of you listening want to be great at what you do and you stand on that stage and you've done good, you get applause. We're talking about taking it to a completely different level.
Epic.
After you get off stage.
Gotta get beyond great. Yeah.
Right.
Epic.
When you get off stage, the audience turns and looks at each other and goes, I think I just saw greatness. I think that person just changed my life. And that's who starts talking about your work. And that's you, by the way. You embody that. Just so you know,
Well, thank you.
Dawnna St. Louis embody that. All right, so let's move on. We're having fun here. I love talking to you. I mean, we could talk for hours, you and I. When you get to Vegas, you know,
yes,
we're going to be hanging out and talking for 4 hours at a time. But I have to take you to the Millennium Fandom Bar.
Okay.
It's you can play with the
Really?
lightsabers there. They have nothing. It's for geeks. The whole place is for
Oh
geeks.
my God, wait. So can I hit someone with a lightsaber?
No, the owner won't let you. But you and I could do battle. At least
Can I
play
hit you
battle.
with the lightsaber?
Yes, you can. I will allow
Okay. There we go.
it.
I'm good.
You get the red one though. If you're gonna hit me,
Purple. Purple.
you want purple.
Samuel L. Jackson was the only one to have a purple one. I want a purple one.
I gotta beep this out. I'm a Jedi, mother. Sorry. You remember what was going around about Harry Potter? They had Dumbledore going, "You're a wizard, Harry, and a damn good one." And they said, "What if Samuel L. Jackson played that? You're a wizard, mother." Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson. So, hey, we get to the point in this show where we ask a lightning round of 3 questions so our guests get to know you better. Look at you. You're getting scared.
Because you know me so well.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the question
You're going to love it. Here we go.
that you would ask that would embarrass me, because I'm sure you have them.
I will. I sat out at the gazebo by the pool thinking of these. So they're not too bad. You're in good hands. Don't worry. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what scares you?
Like a literal?
Yeah. What scares you?
That's easy. Yeah. So I have 2 phobias. One is normal. I'm afraid of heights. Duh. The other one is a little abnormal.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of fish.
Really?
All
You're
fish.
afraid of fish? Like watching them or eating them or what?
I cannot be in the water with fish. And yes, I snorkel and scuba dive.
Yeah, I have that phobia too.
You do?
I somebody helped me break it. I was dating a girl back when I was 21, and her mother, we used to go to Rockaway Beach in New York City. And her mom was she was like from Atlantis. She would go out into the ocean and fall asleep. Just fall asleep and let the waves take her floating around. And I'm like, I feel a piece of seaweed, and I scream and I run out.
Right?
Like, was that a girl screaming? Was that that I'm not, all machismo is gone. And so she got me to learn how to just relax in the waves. Just relax, not care, fall asleep, lay back, let it happen. And so I'm still not cured of that. If I feel something by my legs, we are out of the water. Done for the day. Done.
I can walk on water if something touches my leg. I'm letting you know right now.
Hey, Scoob.
Yes, I'm out.
You're out of there.
Yeah, I'm out. And I snorkel regularly. I love the whole reef thing, dive.
Yeah.
I do like dolphins.
Right.
They come up right next to my jet ski, and I've touched them. But you get me in that water, and let me tell you. Yeah.
I think snorkeling, you get to see everything, so you're not quite as scared. I hate being at a beach and I'm standing in the water and something slithers past me, and it's like, oh my God, we're done.
I'm so finished.
Have you ever been pinched by a crab or anything? That's another one.
So here's the thing. Here's the weird thing. Every time I go in the ocean, every time, something comes towards me or gets me or is attracted to me. Every time. Not just sometimes, always.
You have a magnetic personality when it comes
to whatever.
It's like
jellyfish, barracuda, crab, stingray.
I think it's exactly like cats. Have you ever gone into a house and you've been with somebody who hates cats? The cats come up to them and torture them, literally torture them.
Yes.
But if you have somebody who loves cats, especially somebody who's owned cats in their life, they ignore the cat, and the cats come up to them eventually, and then they love. Yeah, they love you like that. But if you chase a cat, they run away. So I think that's you. They know you're afraid of them
every time. Even when I went jet skiing. So here I am jet skiing. Not kidding you. The dolphins, and it's not just me. There's like 4 other people. The dolphins are literally next to my jet ski like the entire time. And I'm like, I think they're going to tip me. I think they're going to tip me. I think they're going to tip me. And they're like, we're right here for you. We're right here with you. One put his little nose up on the, on where your feet go. And I was just like, this thing is so going to tip me over. And everybody's like, well, they're not coming to us.
That's
I don't
funny.
know.
Well, you have a good
Yeah,
heart.
every time.
Dolphins actually read your energy, your heart energy. It's
Yeah,
like
they really like my heart energy.
really.
It was like this out of my chest.
We love you, Dawnna. Get away.
Get away from me.
The gentlest creatures in the world. And Dawnna freaks out.
Yeah, yeah.
So my next question is, my dear, what makes you cry?
I don't have tear ducts, so I don't even understand the question. What is this cry thing you speak of?
Like me, I cried at the end of Batman Superman.
Um,
You cried.
what? So what makes me cry? Okay, it's gonna be so weird. I don't cry. So yes, I mean I don't cry at like deaths or stuff like that. I never do.
Yeah.
But if you want to see me like become a blubbering idiot, so weak. Let one of my people that I coach call me and tell me like something amazing happened. I cry every time, like a full on baby. I'm so happy for them. It's like a proud mama moment. Oh,
Yeah.
it's really weird. They think and they laugh at me because they're like, "Hey, you want to make Dawnna cry? Watch this. I got a contract."
You remind me of Jody Bach. I had her on the show, and she coaches a lot of people. And like when they can't seem to understand that they can do this, they can win if they just did
Right.
this. She starts crying because it's like they don't understand. They are powerful. And
I cry when they get it. And when
Yeah.
they get it, I cry. I cry like a baby. I cry every single time. Every time. And I cry a lot because they're really successful.
Well, I coach TED Talk speakers, ever since I had my own TED Talk. And it's a weird thing. I get some of the most successful people in the world who get mad at me because I didn't carry them across the finish line. And that's annoying because I pour everything into training them. And then I get that one person every once in a while where I give them the full training and they run with it. And I'm so proud of them because they pick each little kernel up, each little nugget, and they make it work. And
Right.
that excites me. So I get exactly why you cry when your students really do well.
Yeah. And I think the source of it is I'm not very comfortable, very used to getting accolades for anything.
Yeah.
And so it's also very hard for me to accept it.
Okay.
Right. And so there's two parts of it. So of course it's getting something I haven't, that I'm not used to getting. And then them giving me credit for it. And I'm like, no, but it was you. I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm just happy for them.
We're all kind of like that. It's hard to accept the love. It's hard to accept when somebody gives back to you. You're the one who's always giving. You do it with your kids. You do it with the person you're with. You do it with whatever. But to receive it, that's a skill I think we work on our entire life. And I think you're learning it, but it's not easy. You're a giver. You're a natural giver. Yeah, I see that in you. What are you known for that we might not know that you are known for? Don't laugh.
Like pimping rides and ripping out drywall to the studs and recalibrating the entirety of your house, that kind of stuff. Doing plumbing.
You can do that? You can do plumbing and electrical?
Okay, wait, I got a story.
Okay.
Ready? Here goes. So back in the day when I was married, because I was a great wife, I wanted a new lamp over my stairs, right? New landing lamp. And it was red wood. The problem was I didn't have any redwood in the house. And so I looked at my stairs and I said, wonder what kind of wood is under this carpet on these stairs. So I took off the carpet and I saw the wood and I decided I did not like that wood. And so I went and got a drill and I started taking the stairs apart so I could build new stairs. And so they were U-shaped stairs, which meant they had a landing in the middle. So I took off the bottom part of the stairs and I put a little ladder for people who needed to go upstairs and commenced to going to Home Depot, buying redwood and all the things. I built the stringer, I built the treads. When my husband came home, he goes, why does it look like the stairs are on a trash pile? Where are the stairs?
You didn't really think this through. You had a
No, I
project.
did think it through. I was building stairs that day. I looked at him and I go, dude, you totally have a ladder to get upstairs to the master.
That is funny. So you could drywall, you could do
Oh
carpentry,
my God. Oh
plumbing,
yeah. Oh
electrical.
yeah. Oh yeah. I dropped tile, and so in
Yeah,
South Florida we put in tile floors.
I like
Hate it.
tile.
Won't do it. Will not put in tile floors ever again.
Wow. So you
Not
and
because I can't, but
I'm, pic-
why?
I'm picturing you in jeans with a tool belt and boots on,
I
working
like
it.
that you put me in jeans. I would normally be just wearing underwear and a tool belt. Why
Well,
doesn't my jeans?
I've thought of that as well, but um, I
But
love this.
yeah, but
Wow. So
I
you're a
don't like
builder.
putting in. Yeah, I don't like putting in marble tile or travertine tile. Not because I can't, but because the tiles themselves, 24 by 24 marble tiles are about 50 pounds, so they're very
Yeah,
heavy, and
I
you
can
want them to
imagine.
butt up against each other, and you want them to be balanced, and that takes just a lot of work.
It does. I laid the floor in my second office at K2, and it was an old building from the 1800s. Abraham Lincoln actually stayed there when it was a hotel back in the
Wow.
1800s before he took the train to give the Gettysburg Address. And so they were these tiny Victorian sized rooms. So we went to the local Home Depot, which was on 23rd Street in Manhattan, and bought all this tile, terracotta tile. We got Durock, which is concrete sheeting, laid it
Mhm.
down. And at one point, we were so tired of cutting the tile. My business partner, Doug, he took a hammer and he just knocked out the bottom part of the wall and shoved the tile in the corner. And then we sealed it up. We were like, screw this, I ain't cutting it.
Who in the hell needs a wet saw when you can knock out a wall?
Oh, it was horrible. And we had to wear gloves because if you know anything about real ceramic tile, it'll cut you
It'll
bad.
cut you.
Yeah. So we were just like, okay, we got to cut this, we got to cut that. And come to think of it, we made all our offices look like you're in the Southwest. So I was destined to come out here. I've always had it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in my favorite flooring is bamboo.
Oh, wow.
Um
Do
yeah,
you
I
pick,
like bamboo
do you,
flooring a lot.
do you pickle it to bring out the grain?
No, not anymore. You used to have to do that a lot. You used to have to
Yeah.
do the pickling a lot to bring out the grain. But no, nowadays you can actually get it not only pickled, but you can get it in a color that you want. You couldn't used to get it
Nice.
colored before.
Well, people don't know
So
this about bamboo. It takes 16 years before it sprouts, before it comes up through the
a-
soil.
and it's highly sustainable, and it's a grass.
Yeah. It also puts out
Love it.
more oxygen in the air. My
Hmm.
grandfather used to have it in his backyard. He had the dark red bamboo. A lot of
Oh,
people don't see it. It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's beautiful.
that's
Awesome.
beautiful.
Wow, Donna.
Yeah, so people
So,
wouldn't know that I like to pimp
Donna
ride.
Donna the builder. Can she do it? Yes, she can.
Yes, she can. My nickname is Bobby the Builder.
Nice. So my last question. What's your favorite
Blue.
memory?
No.
What's your favorite memory?
Oh, my favorite memory is from 1988, Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, 1987,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. And it's a good memory, but it's a sad one. I was watching my daughter. She was 5 months old, and I was watching her eat a turkey. Basically, she had a turkey bone from Thanksgiving, and she was super excited. Every time she would take like a little suck on it, she would just go like this really excited jump. She was in a walker, and she'd take this really excited jump because she really really liked it, and she used to squeal, and she was so happy. And so that's my last memory of her before she passed away.
Oh, you lost a
So that's
daughter.
my yeah.
Now
She
you
passed.
got
She passed away like 5 days later.
wow.
But it's
Now you have
my
yeah.
best memory.
Now you have me crying. Wow.
No, don't cry. It's my best memory because I can remember her face so vividly. Where people
Wow.
say they can't remember, I can see every squeal, every move. It's amazing.
See, my thing is I don't like children to suffer. That's my thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard.
Thank you for that. Now, before we close, I want to talk about this real quick. If you need Dawnna to come into your organization, we talked about that a little bit, but you also train speakers. And I want to know, because executive retreats are like my thing. And so you do these really cool retreats at some serious places.
Oh yeah.
And you push the limit with that. I've seen the photos. I've heard the rumors.
Yeah.
Guide us through that, because you kick ass and take names in these things.
So anyone, first of all, who comes to one of my retreats is called a family member. We generally get 13, 14, 15,000 square foot mansions. Everyone has their own, private bedroom, private space. You have to go through a pre-training to even be allowed to come to the retreat. And the retreat is one of those mindset shifting.
Yeah.
Like, people come out completely transformed. And I say that honestly, whatever that thing was that they were dealing with before they went to the retreat, we have eradicated the hell out of it by the time they walked out.
I love that. Well,
It is an awesome transformational retreat.
I love
I'm
the work
blessed
you
to be
do.
able to do it.
I can see that. I mean, I love the work you're doing, and I am going to be one of your clients someday, because I really want to take my stuff to a whole other level. And it is. I know you kick people's butts, but it's transformational, and it takes them to this other level. And they're not talking about nonsense. That's the problem.
No
That's
nonsense.
That's the problem in this day and age. Somebody made fun of me the other day because I changed my graphics on my podcast, and they thought that was funny, because they were asking, how do you create and attract a bigger audience? I said, well, ever since I've changed my graphics to focus on the guest instead of me, I've had a 30% increase in viewership and attention on LinkedIn, Instagram, everything. They thought that was funny. Like, that's something they never would have thought of. And I said, well, there's over 1 million podcasts out there. How are you going to separate yourself from the pack? Either get it together or get out. I'm
Right.
I'm kicking ass and taking names with this. And so I see that with the work you're doing. It's like, look, and this happens. People watch a dozen TED Talks and they go, I want to speak like that. Knock it off. Get Dawnna
Right.
St. Louis, learn how to speak from the heart and from the core and from your trauma. And guess what? People will hire you for that vulnerability, because everybody has some of that in them, and they need to hear your message.
Absolutely. So I share this one part with you that we do there, which is pretty cool. So how, again, people come to me and they say they want to talk on whatever. And
Right.
so, if they say they want to talk on leadership, that's fine. They can talk on leadership, right? They can.
Right.
But there's the very first day, like, well, I should say second day, because everybody gets in the night before. So the very first morning that we're doing our full day, everyone gets up and they do a 15-minute presentation. Not a big deal. And all you're doing is sharing your why,
Right.
and your what. That's it. Why you do what you do and what you do. And I can tell you that of all the people who have gone through there, I think, nope, everybody has cried. Just sharing your why.
That's the power. That is the power
Everyone.
of
And you're in front
defining.
of people. Yeah. And you're in front of people that you're meeting for the first time, but you feel like you're a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
And that will scare the hell out of anybody, but I will guarantee this, because I've done it. Dawnna's done it. You may cry, you may break down, and for a man that may be tough to do in front of a crowd, but guess what? Your speeches will crush the competition.
Game changing.
It's game changing. Nobody
Game
comes,
changing.
I say this to people all the time. Nobody puts your plaque on the wall or your picture in the hallway or a story in the Bible unless you did something extraordinary or went through hell. And so this gets you out of your head and into your heart.
That's right.
And
That's right.
It's I think my skill set is I can be funny and then bring it into the serious lesson. That's how I do it. Like you said at the beginning, before we started, you said I can translate some of that gobbledygook into things that the corporate world can handle and act upon. And
Right.
that's the real reason of being a speaker, whether it's motivational or corporate or leadership. Great. It's great that you hung out with Hugh Hefner. What the hell does that mean at the end of the day? Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. But I think what you're doing is extraordinary, and I really appreciate that you're on the show today.
Thank you. I love being here.
Good, good. So do you want to say anything in our departing words to say goodbye to everybody?
Holla. No.
Holla. I was going to.
No, this is absolutely fantastic. It's a lot of fun.
Good.
And I really do want people to, find your why. Find your why. And if you're having a hard time finding your why, do call me. I actually do help people find their why, even if they don't have to pay me to do that. And then literally take the steps to move that forward, because you got to know what your why is. That's how you change the world.
What really motivates you. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for the amazing Dawnna St. Louis. Thank you for being on Awakened Nation, my dear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, tune in next week for another fantastic guest here on Awakened Nation. And a big shout out and thank you to everybody, our fan base who is listening and subscribing on all the platforms. Thank you. Thank you. We couldn't do this without you. Yes. Thank you, Dawnna. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success will be because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.